The Dakota building was built in 1880 to 1884. It's the first luxury apartment building. Over there is where John Lennon was shot and killed. I'm going to be talking about a book about that called Mind Games. This is where the doorman was that night. That's the way that John and Yoko would have been entering that night, or did enter that night. There's a door up there to the right that's hard to see, but that is, in that doorway is where, according to this book, John was shot. They got off at the 72nd Street here and walked in. Chapman was standing right there where that sign is, and then he stepped off that little stoop, apparently, and was doing the shooting. You can see that door inside there a little bit better. So I'm going to go into Central Park at Strawberry Fields and talk about the book. I didn't want to stand right out there in front of the site, the place where it happened, and try to talk about it there. It was sort of distracting. There's other people around, and there's some kind of public address system within the building, which is some kind of announcements are being made, so that was noisy too, and I could hear that, and I was distracted. So we're going to walk across the street here and see what happened. What I have to say about the book. The book comes from a position after the guy said that he studied the issue for 3 years, that it was some kind of a conspiracy, that it was not just the mad individual who did it, like we always hear about the mad individuals, Lee Harvey Oswald and etc. But the implication is from this guy's book that it was really a conspiracy, and that Mark Chapman was really a kind of mind-controlled, hypnotic hitman, which actually, some of these hypnosis guys claim that they actually can do. And I know it seems preposterous, but actually I believe it. The book has a lot about it that reminded me of the Lisa Pease book on the RFK assassination, in that it's all happening in this little enclosed space. There could have been two guys. The cops were miserable at studying the whole thing and seeing what happened. You can see there's souvenirs here for Lennon stuff, since I'm here at Strawberry Fields. And I can hear someone playing across the universe, so. I guess this is really a hangout for diehard Lennon types. So we'll go look at the little Imagine thing, and I'll find some place to sit and talk about the book more. You can see the great bridge behind me there in Central Park, because I'm right by this lake they have here. So anyway, they didn't examine anything. That the Chapman should have been shooting into Lennon's back, if he in fact did shoot Lennon, to shoot into his back. Well, that's fine, but then he was also 20 feet away from Lennon when the shots were fired, and he had to be a pretty crack shot to get so many shots, right around the heart of John Lennon, and apparently that's not very likely with a little revolver that he was using, and it had to be kind of a cracked shot. Also, in talking to these doctors who worked on Lennon when he came to Roosevelt Hospital that night, they say that he was shot in the front. There's no question, according to the testimonies that he recounts, that Lennon was shot anywhere other than from the front, and the wounds in the back were exit wounds, so that made it more impossible. He would have to turn around 180 to face Mark Chapman and be shot in that way. So this again is quite unlikely. So he rounds it all up at the end. The thing goes on for 400 pages. So he summarizes at the end of what he thinks, and he thinks it was a conspiracy, and trying to assume, trying with the evidence present, trying to figure out what could have happened. There's this guy, Jay Hastings, I think is his name, who worked at the Dakota and was in the position to be kind of the second gunman, if there was a second gunman. And he has a weird history in that he was sort of disappeared between 1971 and 1978, so we don't know exactly what he was up to. So he could have been, I don't know, having some kind of CIA training or some sort of stuff. There's that part of it, and he interviewed this guy and was not satisfied with the results of that. But the guy had a bloody shirt, and why did he have a bloody shirt? And he said he helped carry John out to the police car. They didn't wait for the ambulance to come. They carried him out to bodily. Two cops, as their testimony goes, carried him out to the cop cars and put him in the cop cars and took him to Roosevelt Hospital that way. But this guy, Hastings, said that he helped carry John Lennon out. That's how his shirt got all bloody. But everyone else says, the other people interviews said, no, that was not happening. He did not carry John Lennon's body out. It was just these two cops. So the question is, did Jay move Lennon from one location where he went down in sort of an outer office, in where a pool of blood was found on the floor, to an inner office, and then that's where the cops found him and all that. So it's a question of, did this guy Jay get his messed up shirt from that kind of operation, from moving Lennon from the one place into the other place, and that's how he got his shirt bloody. And why did he move him there? What, we don't have any of that information. So it's all kind of murky. Now, I remember the atmosphere of 1980, and I remember that there was this year's struggle for John and Yoko, well, John actually to stay in New York. And they were trying to get Yoko's daughter back from a previous husband. I don't remember exactly what the deal was. He was in a cult or something like that. Something weird about that. I don't remember what that was. But that daughter is now apparently taking care of Yoko right there in that building or wherever they are now. One of 80 houses she owns or something. Yoko is now 91 years old. So, this is time keeps ticking on into the future. So that's kind of, the main deal here with this book. There's all kinds of other questions that are coming up and be looked at, like Yoko's. Oh, I heard some talk about this on the Dave Emery podcast. I listened to the Dave Emery podcast. He's been a long-time anti-fascist broadcaster who is based on the West Coast. So he, in the past couple of months, he did a couple of shows where he talked about this issue. Actually, it was about fascists in Japan, and Yoko's dad was this big banker thing, a high-powered banker, and apparently he was kind of connected, according to Emery, was connected to these fascist types, these during World War II, with the Axis powers and all that. So, that's something else. What did I think of the book? The book is pretty interesting. This is the only book I've read about John Lennon, so I'm not like a big-time Lennon-phile. So this is the only book I've read about him. So and I was a moderate fan of John Lennon, as I said, I remember when he was considered a comrade. I mean, he was against war, and they did a big tour with against war and all that, and so he was a good guy, and I totally buy that. Reagan was just elected that November of that year, the month, just a little over a month before Lennon was assassinated. So Reagan was not the type who would have liked to have John Lennon around either. There's also the question of this guy who was the doorman, serving the doorman that night. Jose Perlomo, Perlomo. Anyway, he apparently there's two of those guys, so it's easy to confuse him with this other guy who was involved with the Bay of Pigs and a Castro Cuban dude. But this one who was actually working there that night was also an anti-Castro Cuban, but not the other guy who went into the Bay of Pigs invasion. But what he did that night is also really weird, in that apparently somehow the gun got out of Hinkley. I keep calling him Hinkley. The gun got out of Chapman's hand, and then this Perlomo dude kicked the gun further into the driveway or something, and then the guy Jay came and picked it up, or somebody else came and picked it up and put it in a drawer somewhere. So, you know, and he also is reported to have told Chapman to, you know, what are you doing here? Why are you just standing here? Why don't you get out of here? Why don't you, you know, run? So, you know, what was that about? So that's all. You know, that guy's dead now, so we don't know. Of course, Chapman's still alive. With Chapman himself, there's all this stuff with religious people and religious people that have connected to military and intelligence. All these, you know, Southern people. He was from the South, or spent a lot of time in the South. So there's a lot of stuff about him with these Christians who, you know, some of them were known to be intelligence officers. This one guy, McGowan, that he keeps referring to as Special Agent McGowan, was very close to Chapman. And, you know, he also went to was in Hawaii, living in Hawaii a while, and was working or involved with some kind of hospital out there that was run by the Seventh-day Adventists. And this guy also says that the Seventh-day Adventists were also kind of connected to MK Ultra, the mind control experiments that the CIA did from 1953 up until the 70s, when they say they shut it down, but of course we know that they didn't really shut it down. So there's wonder, you know, questions about Hinkley being a mind controlled, you know, how he had sort of glassy eyes. Oh, how the Catcher in the Rye thing was supposedly a trigger, like in the RFK assassination, the woman with the blue dress or the polka dot dress who approached Sirhan and told him, you know, when, you know, to do what he did, or, you know, to be apparently being the connection to trigger the operation. Catcher in the Rye, which I read years ago, and, you know, I don't really get why that was so much the book of my generation or previous generations. It didn't really do that much for me. It's not one of my big books. So yeah, and while he was in jail, you know, they have these guys that are you know, mind control hypnotists that come and talk to him and spend all this time with him. And then he starts talking about how he's actually was controlled by demons, and these little battles of demons were going on inside him, and the bad demons won, the good demons with God did not win, and so forth. He was compelled to shoot John Lennon. So he claims that the author claims that this was implanted by this guy, this other hypnotist who, you know, these roving bands of hypnotists that work with these mind control cases. Like this guy had also seen Sirhan. So, you know, it's like, well, all right. Hinkley, he says that Hinkley was not this rabid Lennon fan as he was portrayed, that he was just, he talks to a couple of people who had lunch, or actual fans who were hanging out in front, who had lunch with Hinkley that day, and they said that Hinkley didn't really know that much about the Beatles. And didn't have the new album Double Fantasy, and, you know, wasn't really that into the Beatles, as you know, even though that's all part of the story, that he was this, you know, super Beatles fan, and that's why he did this, to gain the fame of Lennon. The other idea is that, you know, Lennon was was the Antichrist, and because he was critical of Christianity and anti-war and anti-right wing and anti-capitalist and pro-socialist and all these things that of course all these people that Hinkley had been around for so many years were exactly that kind of people. As of now, Hinkley's business is all being run with his wife. You have to talk to his wife, Gloria. He met this woman, I guess, in Hawaii and married her, Gloria. So she is, implicated as if there's a conspiracy as one of his handlers, and now the person who keeps everybody else away, and she's also promoting the whole Christian thing and all that. He's tried to get out of jail a number of times. He's tried to get parole and come up for parole like a number of times, and Yoko once sent a letter to she didn't think he should be released for his own safety and for her safety and Sean's safety, and also the Yoko stuff. I saw Yoko one time. She when I was walking just there some years ago. I was just walking in the street, and she got out of the car and walked into the building. So but she of course got all this money. She and Sean had the will was only to she and Sean. Nothing for Julian, the older child that he had with his first wife. I think her name was Cynthia. Which of course Julian had to get his piece of it somehow. So I think he's mentioned something about Julian fighting for his stake of the inheritance of these millions. But also it's like there's this cop. There's this personal guard they hired who was an FBI agent who Yoko was responsible for hiring this ex-FBI guy as their bodyguard. But he was not working that night. So there was also this weird thing. Well, he wasn't working that night, and why was he given this leave of absence all of a sudden? And then he's working the very next day. And the question of why she would hire a FBI guy who was, the FBI were critical in trying in ridiculing, spying on, and trying to discredit John Lennon for years. So why hire someone of the enemy camp to guard John Lennon? So I think that's basically the stories. What I have about this to say, as I said, it's a rather thick read. It got a little bogged down when he was running through all the testimonies, all the stuff that they didn't keep the bullets. His body was not was cremated the day after or 2 days after, so his body could not be examined further if there was a real investigation. The medical examiner who did do the autopsy was kind of a sketchy guy who ended up getting fired by Koch. So that was a question there. A lot of the material's not being released. A lot of the interviews that the cops did is not being released. And once again, this business where they do things and expect us to take a particular line of their assumptions of what went on and take that as truth, but yet they're not not releasing the evidence and not releasing the material we need to find out what really went on. So I guess that's pretty much all I have to say about it. So Mind Games, what's his name? David Whelan, Whelan. Whelan. There's an interview. I saw him doing an interview on YouTube. So I'll put the interview link so you can watch that if you want, and you can read the book if you want, and decide what you. I bought the book. It was not available at the New York Public Library, so I just I bought a copy, and it came the next day via Amazon. It was not that expensive, considering it's such a big book, but by Orwell Books. So yeah, I don't know. So that's all I got. What do I think? Yeah, I think that the man wanted to hit John Lennon and succeeded in doing so somehow, and eliminated a risk. Just like, we're in a very right-wing country, and anybody that sticks their heads up too high and wants to fight the power and gets too well known, or too close to getting really in office, like the Kennedys, so forth. Sometimes they meet with unfortunate early deaths. And John Lennon was, only 40 years old. So I think that's where I'll leave it. Thank you for watching. And I'm going to have a later book, something